Growth is a powerful thing. On this special edition of Coffee and Conversations, I'm going inside to meet with Greg Olsen, NFL legend and founder of the HEARTest Yard Foundation, alongside CEO of Bojangles, Jose Armario. And we're talking about how they brought together business and philanthropy by bringing two things together: people and purpose. All right, Jose, Greg, thanks for having me in kind of your house today. Thanks for having me.
This is great. Welcome to our foundation, craziness of our foundation office.
Yeah, it's great to see you again as well, and always enjoy being with you and the team.
So this is really fun because it's obviously a very special edition of Coffee and Conversations. And the thing that we always center these around is just making decisions in your life that might not have been easy, but brewing something really beautiful. And I think looking at the partnership between the HEARTest Yard and between Bojangles, the Greg Olsen Foundation and Bojangles, and your mission to serve others is really special. But I want to roll it back just a little bit, because I think before we get into the biscuits of it all, just talking about how this started. So Greg, could you kind of set the table for us and just share with me the foundation and what you were doing before Bojangles ever came into the picture?
Yeah, well, it's funny. So there's actually a lot of backstory to all of this. There's the backstory of the foundation and whatnot, but there really is no HEARTest Yard Foundation. There really isn't a foundation that I'm associated with that doesn't involve Jose. He just hasn't always been the CEO of Bojangles at the time. So our relationship and our friendship goes all the way back to Chicago. I got drafted by the Bears in 2007. Shortly after that, the head football coach at Miami at the time, Randy Shannon, said, "Hey, there's a really good guy. He's a friend of the program, an alumnus of the university that lives in Chicago at the time, working with another brand that we won't mention." But Jose would run Miami alumni events and golf outings, and just our relationship started really just over a love of Miami and both living in Chicago. And then fast forward to, a couple years ago, we're playing golf in Chicago, and we're walking and we're talking all things, and I'm picking his brain. And little did I know he was keeping a secret from me that a couple days later he called and said, "Well, you know what we were talking about, Bojangles and the food industry." Well, I couldn't tell you at the time, but I'm actually going to be the new CEO of Bojangles, and I'm moving to Charlotte. So Jose has sat on the board of our family's foundation since we started it in 2009. Obviously, we started the HEARTest Yard in 2013, but there has never been a meeting. There has never been a decision. There's never been a dollar raised in our foundation over the last 17 years that Jose hasn't been a big part of. And he's been one of the best mentors and friends of my entire kind of adult life, and forever grateful for that.
So Jose, that kind of leads me back to the first thing. I don't know if you remember this, but when I first met you in studio, I asked you, I said, "So how does one become king of all things biscuits and CEO of Bojangles?" Like, that's a very specific career trajectory. And you just said, "Do good things with good people." And I was very much expecting some sort of like big business advice, or, like be strategic and only black coffee and wake up at 4:30. And you just said,
ice plunge.
Do good things with good people. Okay. You buried the lead. Got it. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
I was like, so tell me why that's always been at the front of your philosophy.
I think, I learned a valuable lesson very early in life. I was actually working as a very young kid, and I was fired shortly after starting my first legal job. And I learned that people make the difference. And as a young man, you lose your first job, you learn how to stay focused, get to work, and get results. And while you're building your career, you realize it's all about the people. And if you treat people well, if you encourage them, if you help them, support them, good things happen to you. Ultimately, good things will come back to you. So I've always lived with that philosophy, and it's worked out pretty well. And I've been very fortunate to know this guy right here to my right. I admire him tremendously, him and his family, from the moment we met in Chicago. And he came to our first event in Chicago. It was a great event. And we built from that, and we built it together. And even when Greg moved to Charlotte, he always came back to Chicago for every event I did. And now we're starting the event here in Charlotte.
I mean, so just seeing how your network can be so important, especially when you treat those people with respect and when you keep them in your heart. But Greg, when you were transitioning from playing and having all of these different things constantly coming at you, I know that the HEARTest Yard was started, like you said, in 2013, but you had that philanthropic mindset and that giving back mindset long beforehand, especially thanks to what you created for your mother. And when you wanted to carry that through and you wanted the right people around you, how did you make sure you didn't just have Jose, but you continued to grow a team that was going to share that philosophy? Because I can imagine there's a lot of people who wanted to be near you, who wanted to be part of whatever you were doing, but how did you find the right people?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, I'm the first to admit through a lot of the football world, I kind of know, but I'm also very self-aware in the fact of the things that I don't know, right? I've never run a business. I've never really had a real job. There's a lot of things out there that I've kind of learned on the fly. And I'm also very sure in the point where, like, I've always believed that you want to surround yourself with people that are better at doing things than you are. They have more knowledge. Don't be the smartest guy in the room. Like, you hear all those talking points. And that's been the case since day one. When we put together our board, 17 years ago, to say, okay, we don't want to just stick our name on something that raises a few dollars and gives it away. But when we started this in 2009, then obviously took it to another level in 2013 after everything with TJ here in Charlotte, we wanted to make sure that the people on the board could do things and bring value and bring expertise that was clearly more than what I was capable of. I could go out there and tell the story. I could go out there and share the struggle, share the relationship with Levine Children's and why these, programs and services and why these funds are so, important to the lives of these heart families. But I've never run major business. I've never been a fundraiser. I've never balanced the books. I've never ran a P&L sheet. I've never filed handle the tax returns. Like, I don't pretend to be an expert in those things. And we are very fortunate that through friends that also brought so much value to the table, we were able to put together a really good team. And then, to your point, there's a fine line between having enough people that are experts in certain areas to grow and bring value and allow the foundation to benefit, but also not just bring in everybody in the world, right? You don't need too many chefs in the kitchen. So it's been kind of trial and error. It's been a lot of meetings. It's been a lot of early phone calls. It's been a lot of questions, and really just picking the brains of people that I really trust and people that I know have the best interest of our foundation, the best interest of our family at heart. And you learn that in life through experience. You learn that through developing intimate relationships. And we're very grateful for our HEARTest Yard team, and obviously Jose. Him and another gentleman named Doug Porter are the two longest standing board members. They've been with us since day one.
Now, Jose, when you look at it from your perspective, I mean, we can have all the best ethos and intentions in the world. And I know that you and your team do. But when you are standing in those CEO shoes and at the end of the day, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. How do you make sure that you can come and you say, this is a foundation, this is something worth attaching our brand to, even though Greg's Heart, the intention. How do you translate that message to everyone that you have to go answer to back at Bojangles?
Yeah. Well, it's easy when you know that the people you're dealing with and the organization you want to be associated with are good people with great intentions at the end of the day. There's lots of very good organizations out there. But, businesses are built on relationships at the end of the day. They really are. And you want to be with people that you know and trust and that you believe in. Greg doesn't give himself enough credit. He really doesn't. When I'm hearing him talk about how he surrounded himself with other people, it says a lot about who he is by being so self-aware of how to do this and what he can and can't do. So as I've gotten to know Greg and Kara and the entire Olsen family, who I adore and love so much, I've become big fans of the purpose, the mission, which started out with breast cancer in honor of his mom, but now has evolved to pediatric heart care. And the Bojangles Foundation, which we launched not that long ago, is built on 3 pillars. It's built on literacy, because we believe that kids should be able to read. It's built on serving and supporting our first responder and military families who give so much to this country and our communities and don't get enough credit, in my opinion. And third, to support local heroes who are doing good work for the community or for a purpose. And so obviously that third pillar, Greg and the organization fill in perfectly. And look, we're both in Charlotte. We're a Charlotte-based company.
Right.
Why wouldn't we want to do things together and build from there? We're building our brand. We're going to be a national brand before you know it. I don't see any limitations to what Greg's building. It's starting here, but it's already expanded to South Carolina and who knows where else it'll take us.
Yeah, I think just talking about the scalability of anything, because you talked about having the right cause, having the right intentions, but creating something that's sustainable. You said you didn't want to just slap your name on it. And I think, hey, everyone gets to choose their own path, and sometimes maybe that's a celebrity endorsement or whatever, but you wanted to make sure this was a mission, not just a moment in time. So how did you make sure that that was aligned with your story behind TJ?
Yeah, and I think that's certainly one of the biggest challenges that we've learned to just running a foundation is there's always moments in time where it's easier to fundraise, it's easier to galvanize support, it's either easier to sign up volunteers. And whether that's because we're going to the Super Bowl and I'm at Man of the Year representing the foundation, at NFL honors, and you're really in the spotlight. Well, now you're 5 years post-retirement. You're not playing for the Panthers anymore. You're not, everything, your life changes, and we're out there trying to drum up support and share this message about why it's so important. Well, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. Our family's different. Our needs are different. The needs of the community, the needs of the children's hospital, everything changes over time. So I think what we've really tried to do as a family, and then obviously as a byproduct of the foundation, is be able to innovate and be able to stay ahead of the term and say, okay, how do we best serve the Charlotte community that looks very different than it did in 2013? And when we sit with our annual meeting with the team over at Levine Children's, the needs of that hospital look a lot different than they did in 2013. So how do we innovate? How do we stay ahead? How do we stay fresh? How do people not lose interest and kind of tune us out because there's a shinier new organization? There's something new that's popped up in the community. And as Jose said earlier in the conversation, there's so many great worthwhile causes here in the Carolina region. And we're just one of them. Obviously, we're biased. We think we're the best. But there are so many worthwhile causes that companies can choose to spend their time and energy and ultimately their funds to get behind and support. So we are constantly trying to just make sure our message stays clear. We want to continue to make sure our message of what we deliver, how we handle your funds, how we handle your time and energy. Our events have a certain kind of characteristic that people are drawn to, where our money ultimately goes, the programs that we support. There's so many levels to continuing to maintain the trust of the community. We earned it a long time ago. Now the goal is to keep it. And in today's day and age where people's attention spans are so short and they're on to the next thing, it's a challenge, but it's one that so far we've been able to manage. And with each subsequent year, we're able to grow and expand, which ultimately allows us to serve more families and in essence, essentially fund more programming.
Now, one thing you mentioned in there that I think is so key is you said we earned this. We earned that trust. We earned that reputation a long time ago. And I think that's something that you have to sit with as well as a CEO, is saying we've also earned this trust. So if we are connecting our brand to something, that's really important. So when you talk about building transparency with something like that, what are some of the keys that you think have really helped you maintain that trust and continue to just communicate that message? Because providing the care that you do for people who are experiencing congenital heart failure in their children and empowering them and giving them that ability to care for them at home, I can't imagine the expense.
Yeah. So I think the first step of all this, and this is something that we try to do every single day. And when we started this event, we kind of made our big announcement back in 2013 in the lobby of Levine Children's Hospital, which feels like a million years ago. We wanted it to feel authentic, right? We want people, when they look at our family as kind of the forward-facing, consumer-facing aspect of the foundation, to say, this is real. This is something this family is living, they're breathing. This is our lives, right? We've been through what you're going through. We have a child that still goes through that care since the moment he's been born. So I think there's a relatability element there where the families that we're serving and the people that are choosing to support our program to, in essence, to support those families, they can see that there's like an authentic connection, that our family loves this, breathes this, does this every day. So I think that is just the first part, how we continue to share our personal story, not because this foundation is to support TJ, to share our personal story because we represent the thousands and thousands of heart families around the Carolinas. We just can use TJ as the story because we can get it out there and people will listen. But TJ is just one of thousands of kids who are going through this that really need our help. So I think there's just the human element and the human connection to start. Then there's the business element. And that's where Jose and our team and Molly and her team, like, we're very transparent with our financials. You can go on our website at any moment for the last 10 years, and you can pull up our latest 990 and our tax returns, and you can see exactly where the money goes, what percentage of every dollar goes in essence, to the end program that we're supporting. The hospital comes out and they share what we're doing with the HEARTest Yard Fund. So we over communicate. We are not only are we not hiding anything, we're like sticking it on the front porch.
You're like, here you go. It's on the fridge.
Here, like everyone wants to start with these fancy slides. We're going to start with our financials. We're going to start. That is going to be the first tab on the website. We hope you go see. So we want to promote that not only are we saying we're doing these things, but we're actually executing on it. And I think it's easier said than done. There's a lot of expenses. Things nowadays are not easy to do. It's not easy to cut through the noise, but that's something that we're very proud of. And between the messaging and then the execution, we don't always get it right, but that's certainly where our attention lies.
Now, Jose, when you guys started, I know you said you've been on this journey a long time. So when you were starting that, and Greg, I love your transparency and just saying like, hey, I didn't have to do all this. You're probably like me. I was an athlete for my whole life. I never even had a doctor that wasn't a team doctor until I was like a grown up. And I was like, where does one get a primary care physician? Because it had always been my team doctor. So there were things that I just had not done because like you, hadn't had a real job. I was
That'd be an interesting second conversation. I'm not sure I've been to a doctor since, but we'll do that on the next episode.
Yeah. Yes. Going in with Greg, but what were some of those first pieces of advice like that you might share if you were starting over again today that helped build that fund and that transparency and that foundation?
Boy, there's been so many great conversations along the way, and you do have some great people on the board. I mean, they really do round out everything you need. But I know that up front, it was about how to build awareness and how to use your brand, Greg, because as a NFL player, a very successful, hopefully future Hall of Fame player.
Yes, manifesting it now.
That's right. And we know that Greg's name was very powerful to be attached to this foundation that he was building, but it also comes with responsibility. And so Greg asked the right people in the room to make sure that he was being held accountable. I remember him saying, look, I got to know that everything from a tax standpoint, from the percentage of the donations that are being used, Greg's initial onset goal has always been, I want 100% of the funds coming in to be used to raise awareness and to go to the right cause. And so giving a lot of advice around that and building on his brand has enabled this foundation to grow very successfully. And with the level of transparency and legitimacy that you need in any nonprofit, we've heard about the bad ones, but most are good. Most are run well. And this one, I would say, I am proud to be on this foundation's board, not only mine, but Greg's, because I know the integrity that comes with it. I know the people on the board are just great people. They're professional and they want to do the right things, and they have done the right things.
Greg, what are some things you wish you'd known maybe beforehand? If someone was starting a foundation tomorrow and they wanted to base it off of their personal brand, be it a lifestyle brand or a sports brand, but if you were going back to day one.
That's a great question. And I think, we're the first to say, we haven't, a lot of this that we're learning, we're kind of learning in the moment, right? And of course, we're leaning on people that have expertise, and some of our board members have nonprofit expertise and have done this as a living for a long time. So that's certainly helped us kind of avoid some obstacles. But there's some things that I look back and say, okay, these types of events weren't the right events for us. They weren't the right fit, or the expenses weren't the right thing. And those events don't exist anymore. Or there was partnerships that we entered into, and whether that was individual donors or corporate donors or campaigns or whatever it was. And we look back and we say, okay, in the moment when we needed, we were trying to fill our needs, it made sense. Looking back, maybe, so we don't pretend to have all the answers. We don't pretend that everything we've done in 17 years has been perfect or has always been. We try to identify the things that aren't working and either fix them or eliminate them as quickly as possible. And again, I've never worked in the corporate world, but and even in my career now on TV, it's very similar. You're identify what works and continue to build on it. Identify what doesn't work and be willing, even if it was your idea and you thought it was the best idea, don't put good money on top of bad money, right? And don't
Mm.
just continue to double down because it's something you really hung your hat on. And it's just not in the best interest ultimately in the families that we serve. And that really has to continue to be like our guiding light is at the end of the day, this is not about our family. It's not about TJ. It's not about our brand as much as it is how can we leverage those things to get as much money and as much programming dollars into the hands of these doctors, these researchers, these nurses, inpatient, outpatient, clinic, facility space. There are so many needs that we want to say yes to everything.
Mhm.
How do we continue to be able to say yes when these hospitals and these programmers come up and say, okay, we have a huge need. Can you fill them? So as I look throughout, I probably wish I would have understood just how important those early events and how big, kind of scalability, right?
Mhm.
You're trying to do everything you can to make a dollar to just, it's not a transactional, for example, when we first started, we wanted to fund this outpatient nursing program. That's what the HEARTest Yard started as. We would send nurses and doctors into the homes of these families following discharge, and they would act as kind of like a liaison between the hospital and the family and kind of ease that transition to mom and dad bringing their child home. When I look back to 2013, when we launched that, we looked at it as a dollar for dollar thing, right? Every family costs X amount of dollars. Let's do everything we can, either personal, family donations, individuals, corporate events, all the different lines. And how do we just make sure there's enough dollar for each one of those families? And it worked. And we got it going. I wish I looked at it then as saying, okay, we want to be able to scale this over 10 years. Let's think bigger than that. Let's think a bigger pool of money that a small allocation can go to the nursing, but we also want to be able to bring a neurodevelopment clinic. And one day we're going to build in 2020, we're going to open the HEARTest Yard Congenital Heart Center and so on and so forth. I don't think we looked at it in a long-term format early enough. I think we do now. I don't think we knew how big we could scale early on. And we looked very just linear, execute. Every family needs this much money. Let's match those two together and we're done. It worked at the moment. I think we look at it very differently now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great response because, like you said, you were like, we learned along the way. And that's why I love talking to people like you, because I know there's somebody who wants to start a foundation tomorrow, who wants to start a 501c3 tomorrow. And like you said, that scalability is something that can be so challenging. And then you can also have foundation fatigue. So making sure that you're able to continue to feel really passionate about what you're doing. So when you guys are looking back and looking at this, I know you said you kind of recalibrated how you're looking. So from a board standpoint, how do you continue to advise, okay, this is what we're doing now, and also this is what we're doing 10 years from now?
Yeah, well, it's an evolution, isn't it? I mean, think of every major nonprofit that's out there that people know of today. They didn't start that way. They got there over time through, trial, through different events, through different strategies. I think we have the right strategy right now, but we're still evolving, aren't we, Greg? I mean, and so the thought of doing something in South Carolina, that's only 4 or 5 years old. And so where do we go from there? Well, we've got other targets in mind because the care and the need is real at the end of the day. But, no matter what we do, we never have enough money. So I'm going to put in the plug, right? Like you can help make a difference right now. Come to Bojangles. And if you love our Bowberry biscuits, they're heart-shaped. We have a promotion going on right now where a portion of the sale of the heart-shaped Bowberry biscuits, we got a couple here. I know you can't see it on the podcast, but I can see it and I'm getting hungry. And by the way, Greg knows how to make these. We were going to end this promotion on the 22nd of February, but we decided to extend it another 2 weeks. So it's going to go on till March 8th at participating Bojangles. And you can also round up if you don't want to buy a heart-shaped Bowberry because you're going to buy some of our great chicken biscuits or tea or breakfast. Come to Bojangles. Come and give to the heart, give from the heart. It's going to go to a great cause. And I think there's never enough because there's so much need.
Yeah.
And we have to keep thinking about ways to increase awareness and drive more revenue so that we can get to more young kids and to support the doctors that support those kids because the doctors have needs too.
Right.
And so we've got the strategy in place to continue to grow.
Yeah, that research and development, I think, is something you've always been focused on, making sure that doctors and teams of researchers have what they need to continue looking for solutions. So can you take me back to way before the biscuits and you were sitting there as a dad with TJ before this ever started, and you were just sitting there not being able to fix the situation. Like on the field, you can fix a play, and TV, the prompter goes out, you can make a call. Like there's probably never been a point in your life where you couldn't at least muscle through something. I know that's how I usually feel.
Yeah.
So when you couldn't muscle through that,
Yeah.
what was that feeling like?
Yeah, it's a very helpless feeling. And I think, I think that's why the foundation is rooted in this purpose, because we live it. We still live it to this day. And now granted, TJ now at 13 looks very different than TJ did his first couple months of life, but essentially he's still living this life, and he's going to live this the rest of his time. So we are rooted in the idea that we understand what these families are going through. We understand the evolution in medicine and the evolution in both the acute surgical approaches that they took on TJ, but also the pre and post care, the neural development clinics, all the things that came up prior to TJ's time were only the result because of these advancements in medical practice. And a lot of it's been funded not only through, great doctors and great researchers, but all that funding came a lot through nonprofit, and it came through just research and grants and people that really had a purpose and say, we're tired of watching our sons and daughters not have a chance at life. And congenital heart disease is the number one killer of babies in this country. And we're going to do something about it. So TJ's success is on the backs of many, many people who came years and decades before that allowed these advancements to be true when he was born. And now from 2013 or 2012, when he was born, to now 2026, the world of congenital heart disease looks entirely different. It's just continued to accelerate, and we're hoping 10 years from now it continues, and so on and so forth. So when we look back on those times, the care, the facilities, the programs, something as simple as when the hospital approached us years ago and they said, hey, in the surgery unit, we're using adult bypass machines to do pediatric heart surgery.
Wow.
Like, we've modified them. They're not exactly right, but we're kind of just getting by. And we kind of looked around and we said, how much do you need? Done, buy them, instant, right? So there is a transactional element that we can just fill a need as something as simple as just getting the correct bypass machine. Then there's programming that we can build with, the neurodevelopment clinic, where we brought in one of the top cardiac specialists in the entire country, recruited her here. She built out her team. And now all these children are surviving. But what are they doing when they enter into school? What are they doing from a cognitive standpoint? Do they have speech delay? Do they need social services? Do they need help, educational support? All these things that nobody really thinks of, because everything was just clinical, acute care, make them survive surgery. Well, they're surviving, but now there's all sorts of different problems. We built the neurodevelopment clinic, so on. So we're most proud that when the hospital comes to us with tangible holes, they say, okay, there is a breakdown in our system. We're really good at a lot. We could really use this. More often than not, we're able to raise our hand and say, done, we'll handle the funding. You get the best people in the world, the best processes in the world to implement it. We'll take care of the money. You take care of the application of it, and we'll do it. So a lot of these programs that we have now didn't exist when TJ was born. And I think that's the thing that we're most proud of, is no different than 2012. We benefited from what people did decades before. There are now people benefiting decades after as a result of partnerships like this and the HEARTest Yard.
If I could jump in just for a second,
Please.
because I have to say this. Many people go through hardships in life, and where there's great success comes great responsibility. But even with that, not everyone with success will go through something like this and create something bigger than what they were enduring. When I hear Greg talk about this, it continues to motivate and inspire me as a board member, because the passion's there. You could hear it in his voice. He didn't give up when TJ got his heart or when he was getting the surgeries. He's made it about more than TJ. And as a brand and as a CEO of a brand, that's the sort of partnership we look for, right? Where there's real passion, there's real purpose that goes beyond the individual. And it really can extend to the greater good of the people. And so hats off to you, Greg.
Appreciate
I mean,
that.
really could have easily stopped, made your life easier, gone on, done other things. But you've kept at this, and you're making this even bigger than what I think maybe you originally thought when you
Oh,
started down this path?
yeah, I don't think any of us imagined when we ran our
Yeah.
first little fundraiser back in
Yeah.
2013 with this idea of bringing, because the idea of the hardest yard really came from, again, we brought TJ home from the hospital and he had a twin sister.
Mhm.
So we had a newborn, we had a toddler. Tate was 16 months old when they were born. And then we had another newborn at the hospital. So we were all over the place. It
Right.
was October, it was in the middle of the season. Um, and just a chaotic time. We were able, because we were fortunate enough that we were able to bring a private duty nurse who came and lived with us. She lived in our house. We called her Mama T. Thadine. She was incredible. And she lived with us from the time TJ came home through his second surgery. So call it 6 months. And we saw firsthand, he never missed the feeding. He had the time, the attention, like the amount, having one person whose only job was to make sure he had his needs met was such a blessing, because we were being parents to two other kids and I was working and there was just a lot going on. We, through that, was the original Hardest Yard private duty, where we said, okay, we understand not everybody can bring in private duty nursing at their own dollar and have a nurse live with them 24 hours a day, but now they can have that in-home care. So it really just was through personal saying, okay, this was something we went through. How do we make someone else have a better experience than what we had? Let's just do it. And in the beginning, I'll be honest, selfishly, in the beginning, a big reason for the foundation was it was a healing mechanism for Kara and I, right? We went through all those different stages of, of grief and struggle and all that, the why, the questions, what did we, all that normal process. And then we finally got to the point where we said, this is why, like, we're fortunate that we can provide great care for TJ. That's never going to be the issue. But how can we use this as like a healing moment of saying, but look at all the good that's come from it? And I'll be honest, that was a big ability. That was a big part of the ability for Kara and I to like really grow through this and become stronger and have better perspective, was all the good that came from TJ's struggles, especially that first year or two, brought us a lot of comfort knowing that we could kind of pay it forward to other people and hopefully they have a little bit of I don't know, easy is probably not the right word, but an easier journey than people before them.
I would say empowered would be a great
Yeah.
word. Like when I was looking at some of the videos, if you have time, go to the Hardest Yard YouTube page because it's just beautiful. But seeing so many of those encounters who did go through your first iteration of just having a nurse coming home with them and supporting them. I mean, I'm personally only a dog mom, but I have heard that when you leave the hospital with a baby, they're just like, see you for the next one.
Yeah.
Like there's no instruction manual. I mean, to adopt a dog, they want pictures of your house. They want a site visit. Like someone's going to Skype you. But for a baby, they're just like, best of luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah.
For a baby with a standard birth. So I can't imagine being a parent going home with a child who has suffered from congenital heart defects and traumas to go home and say, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So how has that care evolved? So like you said, making sure that you're continuing to change and you've continued to expand and to grow. So what does care from the Hardest Yard look like now?
Yeah. So in the early days, again, just to scale appropriately and make sure we had it all handled, it was only the most severe cases. So you had to be like, I think they have 5 different levels. It was level 5, which was like open heart, what TJ had. And there's a bunch of other conditions that all kind of fall into that same category. Single ventricle. There's like a lot of ways to classify them. Our care and our funds provided for the most serious critical babies when they got discharged. So they had some level of open heart surgery immediately after birth. And a lot of them were then going to go home to an interstage period awaiting a second or next surgery at a later date. So that was where we started. Then we were able to grow and expand that over years in how it's still today. Every single baby who's born from Levine Children's Hospital, no questions asked. There's no financial requirements. It is strictly medically based. From level 1, which is for a couple weeks, you're going to go home and you're going to do a FaceTime, a Skype, a Zoom, a telemedicine with our Hardest Yard liaison, and they're just going to check in. And maybe you had something minor, relatively minor, and you don't really need any inpatient care, no real follow-up, but it's just a nice little ease the family back home, all the way up to the highest level, which is in-home, serious care, 12 hours a day, like really, really intense. So we have everything in between. That was the nursing program. We were able to fund that in its entirety after the first couple of years, fortunately. From there, then we said, okay, that's when the hospital came to us with the neural development idea. And they said, okay, we want to build a neural development clinic that we can put all this into one house and say, okay, we're going to not only treat your heart and your care, but we're going to treat your cognitive, your behavioral health, your mental health, your schooling, social workers, behavioral issues. And we're going to put that all, and we're going to have people who specialize in cardiac neurodevelopment, and we're going to build out this team. And then from there, we needed somewhere to put it. And we jostled, and after a year or two, we've said, okay, we got to put it somewhere. We funded the HEARTest Yard Congenital Heart Clinic, which is a 25,000 square foot state-of-the-art over at Medical Center Plaza attached to the hospital. Takes up the entire floor. We took it down to the studs, and we built a brand new comprehensive healthcare clinic. So anyone who does their outpatient care at the HEARTest Yard goes to our clinic. So the idea is we started by just touching the little babies, right? Just little itty babies discharged from the hospital. We're going to take care of you at home. And now we pretty much take the baby from the moment they're discharged from the hospital. Our services kick in the in-home private nursing all the way through at least adolescence. Again, we'll see. Right now, we're talking like kids through school age, so 18, 19, 20. But then the adult congenital heart center, Sanger Adult Cardiac, is also in our clinic. So adults are coming. So it really never ends. The touch points of the HEARTest Yard really stays with you your entire life. And we're just continuing to add on more and more programming to make it all as seamless as, but that was like a 13-year story, Jose.
I know.
As short as, because I'm a long talker, that was 13 years as fast as I could.
I'm very proud of you. I think you did great. Jose's like, good job.
Yeah, no.
He's heard this 1,000 times. He's like,
but there is
he actually left and got a biscuit and came back.
Yeah.
I did. Let me have one more. But Greg, I think there's another part that you haven't highlighted, which is about with a lot of the kids, even when they go through all that great care, there's a moment in time where they may need that open heart surgery and a heart replacement.
Yep.
That's the unfortunate part of that sort of moment. So that's also a big part of what we're doing, right, with the foundation, making sure that that care is there or that support's there for that moment, which is another tough moment. And when you're a parent and you've got a child going through a bad time, whether it's health or something else, it's the most vulnerable feeling as a parent. But to be able to do something about it, either as the parent or getting the right support or being able to help organizations like the HEARTest Yard or the Bojangles Foundation, I think that's how you can make a small difference, even though you may not be going through the same moment.
No doubt.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's so interesting because I'm hearing Greg talk about so many of these parallels, and I'm thinking of you, Jose, as you're sitting on the other side of the table, is when you're making things bigger, when you're changing the iterations, and when you're looking for those solutions, that empowerment. And then you said you're also looking for that comfort, for that, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here in front of Bojangles biscuits, like you said, for our podcast people, they look amazing. But thinking that was always my go-to comfort food. That was always what we brought when someone was feeling poorly. Somebody may or may not have snuck a biscuit into my dad after his heart surgery. Not exactly when you're supposed to have your Bojangles biscuit, but that was what he requested. But when you look at those kind of classic Southern comforts of a good biscuit, and the comfort of knowing that you have a solution, care, you have stability, you have financial support for your child. Like how did you make that connection between something really just as simple as a biscuit to the HEARTest Yard? How did this promotion really come to be? Because like you said, it could be a great idea. You guys could be best buddies and you make friendship bracelets and you guys are just the best friends anyone could ever had. But it still had to make sense for both brands to create this. And it's been successful for a really long time, literally since I've gotten this job and before that. So how did you get to that point?
Well, what I would say is there's alignment, right? Mm-hmm. Like our foundation, the Bojangles Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, we've got 3 legs to that foundation. And this just aligns perfectly with local heroes, local community, sort of entities that are trying to do good for the community that you serve. And I think as a company, we have a huge responsibility to give back to our customers who give us so much every single day. So it didn't hurt that I knew Greg. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it didn't hurt that I was on his board, but it had to make sense for Bojangles as well. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense. It really does. And I would love to think that there's a small part that we play in everyone's life with our great Southern, food that is built around Southern hospitality and good food, not fast food, but good food fast, because that's how we make everything. We don't have a microwave. It takes 49 steps to make a Bojangles biscuit.
I
That's
know,
a
'cause
lot of love.
I did all 49 steps
You
that day
did.
in
You
your, in your
did.
store.
You did. And you did a great job. By the way, they're still waiting for you to come back and
Oh,
maybe
man.
make some more.
Yeah,
All right.
We'll be
But-
there. We'll be there.
Yeah.
But you know, I
Twist
think
them
I think we're aligned. I mean,
Oh.
the organizations are very aligned because the purpose is very much in tune with giving back to the community.
Mhm.
And so we're very proud of that.
Can I add something to that? I think we spend so much time, and again, you asked earlier, and this might have been a better answer. You asked earlier about like what we've learned as a foundation. I think a big part of what Jose is saying of why not only our personal relationship, but the relationship between Bojangles and the foundation has been so good for long periods of time and just continues to expand. Obviously, this program being this campaign being our biggest the last 2 years. But what we early on, I think it's very easy to fall into the trap as a foundation of saying our mission is so good. We're helping sick babies. It should all just be about supporting us, and all of these corporations around town and individuals should just give us their money, sponsor our golf outings, sponsor our events, do roundup campaigns, whatever. Why do you mean you don't want to help us? We're helping these sick families that are at the hospital. You can very quickly just think that your mission is the only mission. And I get we probably all guilty of that at times.
For sure. Yeah.
I think as time has gone on, we've learned here in our foundation and personally with myself, I've learned that the best relationships we have are not one-sided, right? So yes, ultimately the foundation wants to raise as much money as we can to do as much programming and impact as many families. But over long periods of time, it is in our best interest to operate with partners where they also feel like they are getting something in return. And it's not just a one-way street, right? It's not just transactional. I think the way we've approached our relationships now, Bojangles being at the top of the list with some others, is we want to make sure we do our side of the equation. We want to make sure we are representing their brand, right? Everyone always looks at, oh, you want to be we want to make sure we're representing Bojangles. We want to make sure that we're out in the community spreading not just how good their biscuits are and not good how their chicken are. That's the easy part. What kind of people are running the business? What is their impact on the community? How are they to their employees? That we want to make sure that we also can resonate and elevate those messages. So when they look at the end of the year for partners to work with, and we look at the end of the year for partners to work with, it's a no-brainer that we each want to stay in business with one another because it is a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think early on, when we were first starting out and you're so hungry to get growing, we would enter into a relationship with anybody who wanted to support or sponsor us because we wanted to build a new hospital. We wanted to build a new clinic and we wanted to do all this stuff. We now are fortunate that we're in a position that we can play a little bit of a longer game where even if it's not as much in the moment, the right partners over long periods of time, we're going to win. And I think that, at least from my perspective on this side of the relationship, to be able to be with Bojangles and Jose and his team and their built up credibility for how many?
49 years.
I was gonna
It's
say
going to be
50.
50 next year.
Okay, I was going to say 50.
Ooh, what are we doing for the anniversary?
We got to do big stuff, big
Big
stuff
stuff.
together. Yeah.
My point is the Carolinas are synonymous with Bojangles for 50 years. We understand how much value that brings us. And we don't just sit here from a position of saying, yeah, everyone should want to work with our foundation. It doesn't work like that. And I think that's why our relationship personally and the foundation and the business side works, because we each understand it's about serving the other. And if we do that, we'll be served in return.
No, I think that's an incredible point.
I was just say values are very aligned here.
Yes.
And you have to have the values aligned in order to work with entities. You just have to, because ultimately that defines you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe our foundations are very similar,
Agreed.
trying to get to the same place. And it ultimately goes back to your first question about my career and great people. You surround yourself with great people and great things happen.
Yeah. I mean, and I
Always
think this
do.
is a perfect example of that. But Greg, I loved your answer and I'm so glad that you went back to that. Kind of reiterates like, hey, you can always just add on and always change, just like you can in this conversation. So Jose, for you, in a time when we have tons of influencers, people are looking for sponsorships, like, everybody's looking for that. And I'm sure Bojangles gets a lot of that because that's a big brand name. Like whether you've ever been to a Bojangles, you know what Bojangles is across the country. So for you, making sure that people are coming to you, like with what Greg said. They say, we want to provide value to you. If somebody was bringing you a foundation tomorrow, what value would you want them to bring to Bojangles?
Well, hopefully it's aligned with the things we're trying to accomplish. Because I think, the tough part about leading any foundation or organization is not saying yes, it's saying no.
Mm.
There's so many worthy organizations out there, and you can't be everything to everyone. It's impossible, at least not with purpose,
Yeah.
not with success. So we have to be very particular about who we align ourselves with. I know this, we're spending a lot of time with Greg's foundation, but like we do great work with Folds of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
We do great work with the Veterans Golf Association, which, by the way, their whole mission is to help veterans not commit suicide. I mean, that's a tough thing to talk about, but that's their mission. And we want to be supportive around helping to save our veterans that have given so much and go through a tough time. We are now sponsoring the Teacher of the Year in many of the markets that we do business in: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. And we want to continue that to promote literacy. Doing much more than that is really tough, obviously, and we're doing a lot with the HEARTest Yard, and we want to continue to build on that. But I mean, we start with, are the values of those organizations aligned with ours? Is there a mission here that we can help with and grow? And not just one-stop shop and go away, but how can we build on it so we can have the greatest impact? But it's tough to say no to so many great people. I mean, it really is.
I know that has to be a challenge. And the reason I've been asking so many questions is because, like you said, as we continue to grow in the Carolinas, there is so much philanthropy. And I want young entrepreneurs who have a cause that want to create a foundation to be able to go forth and learn what you guys have. And a question I have for you, Greg, is when it comes to storytelling, and I'm sure that you've really expanded this as your TV career has taken off and gone from field to in front of the camera. But when you look at storytelling from a fundraising perspective, and you are trying to reach people outside of somebody who might have been directly affected by a congenital heart challenge, maybe they don't have a niece or a nephew, maybe this is something that's just out of context for them. How do you reach those people to continue to grow people who can support your foundation?
Yeah, it's such a good point, because it's so easy to talk to a room full of moms and dads who have watched their son or their daughter or their niece, nephew, neighbor, whoever. They watch someone very close to them go through the story that I'm telling about TJ, because it just hits so close to home, right? Those are easy sales. Those are easy connections. Those are, you don't have to spend a lot of time on that. That message gets through pretty quick. I stand up in front of crowds all the time. And I always, when I talk about our foundation and Levine Children's and now MUSC down in South Carolina and Charleston, I always kind of make the point. I always say Levine Children's Hospital in our program, hopefully it's the best program, the best hospital that none of you ever have to ever use. That would be my hope, right? I hope we build Levine Children's Hospital into this unbelievable world-class, and it's virtually there, but I'm always like, there's always more to do. Levine Children's Hospital is the best place that I hope no one out there ever has to step foot into. The reality is thousands and thousands of people every single year do. And whether, I hope it's none of you, but it could be your neighbor. It could be your cousin. It could be a coworker. There's going to be some connection somewhere, somehow, of someone who's going to need Levine Children's or MUSC Children's or the HEARTest Yard in particular. So we try to make sure that we share the message that it's about elevating the care and the community, right? Everyone can resonate around being a part of a community that really cares about each other. And it doesn't have to be just heart disease. It could be a multitude of different things. We saw it when the storms came through on the other side of the state, how many people went to help, right? So community isn't just a cause that means something to me personally, but it means when people need to step up to serve others, even if it has no bounce back return for me, I'm willing to do it, because someday, sometime, the shoe could be on the other foot. And I'm going to need that community to give back to me. And that was us, right? We came here in 2011 when I got traded. In 2012 offseason, we found out TJ was going to be born. We didn't know this community. I wasn't drafted here. We hadn't won many games. They didn't really know me. This community of Charlotte, not only the medical community, but just the fans, the people, they rallied around our family when we shared TJ's story like something we had never been through before. They were there for us before we were even really members of this community. And now it's flipped, and now we can continue to try to provide as much good and service that we can in return. So that's our message. And it doesn't have to hit you directly at home. It doesn't have to be the cause that necessarily impacts your family, your child, your neighbor. It's just about being there to care for the people that live around you. And I think when people all adopt that mindset and understand just how powerful that is, it will all come full circle. Just don't worry about others. And if everyone's worried about you, everyone gets taken care of. So we really try to just latch onto that message and just keep it authentic, keep it real. And the community support in the Carolinas has been incredible.
The word community is really so special. And again, like, I just feel like alignments keep popping up in this conversation, because when you're talking about community and people showing up, like, one thing Southern people know how to do is show up. And I think Jose can echo this: show up with food.
For sure.
They have biscuits by the boxes, by the way, if you ever really want to be a hit somewhere. But
come on over.
I think of community as, Friday mornings, all the seniors would go to the Bojangles off Hurlong and Rock Hill.
Sure.
And that was where the cool kids had breakfast.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It was great, and
Cajun filet
and
bow rounds.
Sounds incredible.
Coffee.
we're gonna have to go now.
Yeah.
Are we going to Bojangles afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. That was promised Bojangles. But building those communities, like you said, and just rallying around each other, whether that community is your coffee group on a Friday morning, or whether your community is sitting with you in a waiting room hospital.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you guys are continuing to build that together. I know we probably do have to get to a Bojangles or something. I know we're all getting hungry, but there's so much to do, and there's so much to see, and there's so much to bring together. I'm really excited for us to just get to support what you're doing right here and right now, and to continue that. So Jose, if you could just remind us exactly how we can continue to do that. And even when the biscuits are gone, I know you guys said you had great stories, so I'd love to hear how these got made and how we continue to support you.
So I'll put in the plug, and Greg can talk about his
Jose's
experience.
so good.
But come to Bojangles. I mean, we got many reasons for you to come. Obviously, we got great chicken, biscuits, tea, breakfast. But we also have our Bowberry biscuits, which are heart-shaped this entire month in honor of heart care. And we are partnering with the HEARTest Yard so that a portion of every sale of the Bowberry heart-shaped biscuit will go towards pediatric heart care. And you can also round up if you don't want to get one of our great biscuits, which would be a mistake. But if you did that, you could still come and make a difference, if you will. And we're going to extend this to March 8th at participating Bojangles. We're trying to make up for a little bit of time after the snow and ice storms that we had. But I want to say one more thing before we pass off here to Greg. You talked about storytelling, and and I every time I listen to Greg, his storytelling just gets better and better. I've seen the evolution of the foundation. I've seen the evolution of Greg Olsen, and it's a beautiful thing to watch because he cares so much. And Bojangles cares. I care. My team cares. We love being aligned with Greg and his foundation. Not because I'm on the board, not because we're friends. Sure, may have opened the door, but because there's real purpose behind what Greg and the family are doing, and we want to be a part of that. And it was really cool to have you last year come to Bojangles and show you why the biscuits are so great, and have you go through making our biscuits.
What was the woman's name who I did it with? I'm trying to remember who it was. She was incredible. Off the top of her head. And when they came out, I was like, I get it now. Like, you eat them as a consumer, but there's always a different perspective when you flip around. The team, the store managers. I think there was like a district manager there, then the store manager, and then the team, whether it was the biscuit makers or the guys in the back, or the team, the people, their love for the product. It was very, again, don't have a lot of business experience. To see it behind the curtain and see like the love, how much pride they take in their product, their service, the brand. It was an eye-opening experience. And yes, we all know the biscuits are incredible, but the amount of love and care because I know firsthand, I sat there with an apron, spreading the dough, the whole deal. I got yelled at because I had too much waste. You have to like stencil.
Right.
There's
You have to use the cutter.
There's like a certain
on the dough.
Yeah, like when we were kids and we would like do Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the same idea, but there's a technique to do it so that you don't have too much in between waste, they call it, because it gets, anyway. It was an eye-opening experience, but the team that Jose has put together is just really remarkable, and it comes through in It comes through in their product.
I'm blessed to be with this brand. I'm like, I didn't start Bojangles 49 years this year. We will have a big 50th next year. I'd like to invite both of you to come to a Bojangles and make biscuits again.
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
TJ, bring the
same here.
family.
Yeah.
You've got to come.
Yeah.
You've got to come because I think it shows you the other side of our industry. We don't own a microwave. We make everything for the most part scratch in our restaurants. And like I said, we're not fast food. We're good food fast. That's why our food tastes so great when you have it. It's actually got flavor.
Oh,
you don't need a sauce for our food to
you
taste
don't
good.
gotta tell me. We have
Our
that.
food tastes good without a sauce, but we also have the best sauces.
You have
just
good
for the
barbecue
record.
sauce.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
It's the best.
Can
My
I tell a
favorite.
great Bojangles story?
Please do.
I have so many, but 2015, we're getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. Every single Friday at the facility, at the stadium, our Friday meal was Bojangles. We'd come off the practice field. They called it Fast Friday. And we had a group of guys that had lunch together every single Friday right off the field before everyone went home. It was an early day, Friday, go out, see your family, whatever. It started at like 4 or 5 guys. Well, I have pictures of us. I've shared them with Jose where we've had to pull all the tables together in the cafeteria. It was the Friday before the NFC Championship. So the season just kept growing and growing and growing. The tables kept growing. We had front office general managers, rookies, practice squad, Luke Kuechly. I mean, we had all areas of the team covered. Everyone was welcome, but it was bow time.
Mm-hmm.
And people had their thing. If you ate chicken fingers in week 1, chicken tenders, you better eat chicken tenders in
Yes.
week
Supremes, chicken Supremes.
Chicken
Sorry.
Supremes.
All right, for the record.
If you were going to have bone in, I don't know whatever, but
Bone-in chicken.
I call it fried chicken,
Yeah.
just bone in chicken.
Yeah.
If you whatever you ate, you had to eat the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
We make the Super Bowl. There's no Bojangles in Santa Clara, California. They boxed up chicken Supremes, bone-in chicken, biscuits, all of it. They put
All
it
the
in
fixins.
all the fixins, put it in a truck. We came back to our hotel the Friday before Super Bowl. In our hotel, we were staying in like San Jose or something. We came back into the ballroom, and what was set up?
It's bow time.
It's bow time. And we had bow time in San Jose 2 days before the Super Bowl, and they got a driver who drove it all the way across the country so that we could have bow time at the Super Bowl because we had bow time every Friday the entire season. And again, yes, the chicken's great. Like, that's the easy part. To me, it anchored our week that we knew it was bow time on Fridays. It was more of the fellowship. Whether you ate one piece of chicken or the entire bucket wasn't really the point, as much as like bringing everyone together over something we looked forward to and like really anchored our season, the fellowship, the camaraderie, the jokes, the storytelling, making fun of just all of it. And at the center of it all was Bojangles.
Greg, we need to talk to Dan Morgan. This is a tradition we need to start. The Panthers had a good season. They're on the cusp.
So
I think we
maybe
need to
bow
start.
time was just missing.
I know.
I haven't been
Maybe
around
we
in a
take it to
couple
the next
years.
level.
Yeah, and what they used to do is if we won, what happened that year was there was like a rotation of different Friday meals.
Yeah.
And if you lost, they would move on to barbecue, whatever. it was. But we won and we won and we won. So we won 14 games in a row. So we had 14 Friday Bojangles.
14 bow ties.
And then we lost. And there was a conversation in the thing like, do we change? And we were like, no, it is bow time. We're
All right.
14 and 1.
Love
Right,
it.
you're like,
We're
hey.
good. We're fine. So we stuck with it and obviously took it through the NFC Championship. So it was a big part of our season and a fond memory
Awesome.
amongst many
Great
others.
story.
All of a sudden, he's going to have a lot of like corporate orders, like right before season.
Listen,
Everyone's
well, we
gonna
do
be
You
catering.
want to win?
Yes.
We do catering.
Hey, Jose,
Listen, I told them
it's
to
Come
go back
on,
to biscuits.
get on
the
a
idea to
catering
win.
order.
The idea
Yes.
is to win, right?
To win.
Well,
And when you get Bojangles, you're already a winner.
You win.
You're already a winner.
I think so. That has to lead us into. I have 2 more questions for you guys, but before we go eat, because I'm really starving now. But first of all, what is your go-to bow order? I can recite my entire family's. And
what is it? I'm curious.
like-
It depends what time of day. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead. You go.
All right.
Oh, see,
That's-
I disagree. So
Okay.
I was like, maybe, except for my sister Savannah, she's the one caveat. So our family, like, if you really want to be a winner, when my sister's now fiance was like getting back in good graces, he would show up with Bojangles and he got the order right. Congratulations. Now she's got a ring on her finger. I would have told her to say no.
But
But our biscuit order is my mom does a bacon, egg, and cheese. My sister Alexandra does bacon, egg, and cheese.
So good.
Savannah does bacon, egg, and cheese. My dad and I went from a sausage, egg, and cheese girly to now I am a Cajun filet, chicken biscuit, add cheese. And all the bow rounds, just a bag of bow rounds.
So flavorful.
Yeah. Just a bag of bow rounds.
It's not an ordinary hash brown. It's much more.
Yeah. So Savannah, bow rounds are, if you've never done a bow round, just
so you're all in on breakfast is what I'm hearing.
But I'm breakfast, like you could be
breakfast all day.
You could be
That's
about to
Bojangles.
close. That's what we're
we
doing.
serve breakfast all day.
Or the Cajun fries with extra seasoning.
Yeah.
By the way, you can buy the seasoning. I didn't
can
know
do
that wasn't a thing.
It's a Christmas gift.
Really,
I mean, honestly,
really impressive.
you're hired.
I'm like,
Really
hey, listen.
I need a new spokesperson. Come on
Really
over.
impressive.
right.
I do the sausage, egg. I don't do cheese on breakfast sandwiches.
Okay.
I'm a non-cheese. I don't like cheese with eggs.
I would go
Okay.
back through the drive-through if there was no cheese.
Dude,
What's
I gotta
holding
have
it
the cheese
together?
too.
I don't
But you know,
like-
it tastes great without it. You can have
I'm
it
not
both
a
ways.
cheese. I don't eat cheese on any of my breakfast, like with eggs. Anyway,
That's a whole nother
All right, that's
episode.
cool.
That's
So I go-
one
I
minute.
like
Okay.
the sausage egg biscuit
Yeah.
sandwich.
Great biscuit.
I love the
Great
chicken
biscuit.
chicken on it. Whoever decided to put chicken on a biscuit
Amen.
is my hero.
Mm.
Yes.
But I'm only doing that up till probably like 11 noon at the latest.
Right.
If it's noon or later, there is not a question. I'm getting a bow box, chicken supremes. I like the regular fries. I don't like Cajun. And then I save the biscuit for the end.
Mm.
Yes.
It's the
When
best.
when I would drive back and forth to training camp, I had a tradition that when we would break training camp, as I was leaving, Spartanburg, Wofford down Spartanburg,
Mhm.
there was I would go to the same Bojangles. I don't remember what street it was on, but it was like, I would go through, I'd put my box right on the center console and I'd hit whatever highway that is that takes us back 85 or whatever it was. And it was like, I was going to get it every time camp broke. So like 3 times over that month. And I was going to sit there and I was going to drive. And I knew I had 24 hours off of practice. And I always saved the biscuit for last.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Okay. What's
I'm
your
going, right?
it was like,
I mean, for breakfast, my taste has evolved. I do love the sausage, egg, and cheese. It's the
So
best. But
good.
we've got something coming out called the triple double.
ooh,
Just a insider footnote there, and it's going to be the best of all breakfast biscuit sandwiches ever. The triple double coming to your
Call it
Bojangles near
tease.
you.
They call that a tease.
I love our Bo's chicken sandwich. I think it's the best chicken sandwich in the industry. And it is just all Southern goodness with that special Bojangles flavor. And then give me a big Bo box at the end of the day for the family. And right now, participating Bojangles, you can get an 8-piece bone-in chicken meal,
Bone-in chicken.
2 fixins, half gallon of tea, 4 biscuits for $19.99. Like helping people make ends meet after 5 p.m.
mhm.
because people are going through a tough time
Mhm.
and we're going to be there for them. And so it doesn't matter what day part. I love Bojangles all day long, 24/7.
Yeah.
Give it to me any way I can
Same.
get it.
Amen. And I love the fact that you even talked about like how you eat because strategy is also important. I think that's great
And
too.
you have
Yeah.
great barbecue sauce.
Yes.
The best barbecue sauce. I think all our sauces, man, honey mustard is the number one sauce that we
Interesting.
serve.
Oh, okay.
And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, that is a very interesting color because it is
like,
kind
that's
of
a choice.
bright. And it's because there's so much honey in there. I mean, honestly, the formula for this thing is amazing. And it is the best honey mustard you could ever have. And I know you expect me to say it as the CEO, but I'm telling you, it is. Barbecue, right there. All our sauces
I'm a
are
barbecue
great.
guy, so I
Well,
just
me too.
I play the
Me
hits.
too. I
Yeah,
go with
they're-
barbecue, but my family gets honey mustard.
Hey, there's
Yeah.
something for everybody.
Little something for
Everybody
everybody.
enjoys.
Yeah. And thank you guys for not being stingy with the sauces. Because I like an extra in my
We have
fridge.
the largest
It's this
You do.
big.
cup
Yes.
It feels like it's
in
yes.
the industry.
It's
Yeah.
this big.
Yes.
I mean, we give you your money's worth. We
Yes.
give you more
Can I give
value
you
for the
another?
money.
Can I give you another? We're
Tell
really
me.
diving into the.
I know
Tell
we're
me.
really like,
Tell
okay.
me.
It's easy to open because the flap clearly
Right.
sticks off the edge. of the
100%.
thing.
Details
Some of
matter.
There's multiple. How do you get the top? But
Yeah,
yours,
yeah.
I don't know if
We're
it's
the
foil
only
or
one in
whatever it
the
is.
industry
It
with
has like a
that
tab.
volume because we want you to have plenty there when you get that 4 or 5 piece Supremes meal.
There's one thing we've gotten accomplished today. That was it.
It's like, well, I think we might have like circled the whole airport there, but I personally really love that for us. I mean, we've talked about like what fills our bellies, like everything.
Yeah.
Before I let you guys go, I just want to talk about what fills your cup? Because that's what we always
Mm.
end with coffee and conversations is what fills your cup at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at me, so I'll go. First, my family. If I could say, my family is everything, and I'm blessed to have a great wife and great kids, and now 4 great grandkids. 3 are Charlotteans, so they fill my cup. And the Bojangles Foundation is becoming a bigger part of my life. When we landed the idea to, because Bojangles has always been involved with the community, but we didn't have our own foundation. And we started that at our 45th anniversary. We launched it. And everything that we're about means something to me. And long after I'm CEO, I expect to be a part of that foundation for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. Greg, why don't you wrap this up?
Yeah, I think along those lines, obviously our family and, wife Kara and the kids and just our purpose and obviously trying to serve our immediate family first and foremost, raise great kids and, raise 3 great kids and try to make sure that they understand their purpose and their place in this whole world and be able to go out there. And I think beyond that, just continue to be great, contributors to this community, both the Charlotte community, the Carolina community, and beyond, and just continue to live with great purpose and try to make sure we keep other people's, thoughts and feelings at the forefront. We've been very fortunate. We've been very blessed. We have opportunities to do a lot of great things, but with that, to Jose's point earlier, comes a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of things that we can do. I get asked by a lot of people all the time, why do you do so many things? Why are you coaching the kids and running a foundation and doing that? I say, because our time is like a great force multiplier, right? And by what seems silly, by coaching one little football team, think of the amount of kids that we can just have a small part in their now impact and going and carrying that forward and the ability for that to scale. And, it'd be a lot easier for us to just stroke a check at the end of the year around giving. We support Congenital Heart and move on with our day. But our ability to support this foundation and pour our resources into this has a great force multiplier of what we're able to do now. And it can go well beyond just our own personal giving. So we take great pride in that. We take great responsibility in that. And we don't always get it right. We don't always, but we certainly try to keep that at like the center of what we do.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing so much with me, for sharing your wisdom so that other people can continue to make their difference and be that great force multiplier, like you said. Thanks so much. And I think all we can wrap up for this Coffee and Conversations is say now it's bow time.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
To everybody out there, thank you so much for joining me for Coffee and Conversations. Now, if you want more stories of motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that can fill up your cup when it's empty, no matter where you are, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more.